Hello, Internet. This is Chase Wassenaar, and welcome to the Rough Drafts Competes Journey of Wrestling League. It is the second weekly in July. We are on our way to our third bronze pay-per-view. And while I am saying we, I unfortunately have to break the news that it is just me here tonight. That's right. Due to some scheduling conflicts and ultimately us moving up the next pay-per-view, it's actually going to be Tuesday this upcoming week at 6 p.m. Pacific time rather than our typical Thursday. I ran into this situation where both I couldn't find someone to record with me in the immediate, and I can't really postpone it without us potentially being in a difficult position to get it out the door and with enough time for people to make a third weekly card and then, of course, get their pay-per-view card finalized as we head into our next bronze pay-per-view for all of these lovely competitors here. So I'm doing this one on my own, and to make things just a little bit more dynamic than just a guy talking to himself in front of a microphone for however many minutes this lands, I've got some music going on in the background. It's the same music we use for the pay-per-view streams, so hopefully you like it. I try to go for music that isn't copyrighted, even though I am not in a position where like the channel's really monetized in any meaningful way. So if you want me to change the music, let me know in the comments what it is you'd prefer to hear. But the show must go on, and it starts with Walter here. Walter scored 4.25 points on his last weekly card. He is heading into Beach Break, and he's got quite an interesting card for us. I think there are some nice tag. There's a tag match. There are some qualification matches that we're getting into for Beach Break for a title shot, and some really fun narrative stuff. So let's just jump on in. And we start with this match between Raven and Aiko Haruka. Raven, of course, mostly known as a manager in the early days of the Stamford Wrestling Alliance. She's been a manager for a few different wrestlers. Drew King of the Kingdom, probably the most notable. But she has started wrestling a little bit more on her own recently, and she's done a pretty good job. 1-2 record, but always looking strong against a high tier of opponent. Meanwhile, Aiko Haruka has really struggled to find her footing, right? This is an 0-6 wrestler. Despite the 4-3 stats, just hasn't found her opening that has allowed her to really establish herself in the women's division. So for both of these competitors, a women's championship qualification match is huge, right? Maester Gomez earned her spot in the women's championship at Beach Break by beating Amanda Ace last week. And this week, it's going to be Raven's turn. Raven, it's a 3.5-star match, probably not the score that Walter was looking for. Honestly, a bit surprising, given that these are both 4-star workers. I imagine, especially because, stiff worker here, Raven, theoretically, actually from, both of them. These are both stiff workers. The odds of a holy shit moment, the odds of a higher score, despite the fact that there isn't a gimmick here, this is quite the low roll, unfortunately, for Walter. It does start the feud, and I think it's a fine start to a feud. I'll be curious to see what Raven and Aiko do in the future. And certainly for Raven, I think this is the start of a bigger story, right? What her role in this company looks like beyond her managerial position is something that I'm very interested to see. She's a glorified badass in her own right, and hopefully Aiko finds her footing at some point. That 7th loss has got to hurt, but it is what it is. But here's the thing. I mentioned that the Empress Kabuki is very particular when it comes to her opponents. That's why they have these qualification matches, right? You need to prove that you deserve a shot against the Empress. And Angelina Cardinal has proven herself numerous times, right? She almost beat the Empress at Heatwave. And the Empress not having that, right? She does not like her power being threatened. She does not like anybody trying to undermine her authority as the face of this company, an undefeated singles performer. So it's no surprise that she goes to attack Angelina Cardinal backstage here. I've been told I'm not very fluent in my Japanese, but I do believe that the Empress said, "I'll make sure you never fight me again," before absolutely beating Angelina Cardinal senseless. It's a brutal attack, just, not sporting in the slightest, but it does make for some good television, and it turns out this is a 4 3/4 star segment. A really nice backstage attack boost. I think that segment has a lot of legs in the long run because given that it is an attack, I think it uses both work rate and charisma. So with two wrestlers at this talent, it certainly goes a long way. We're still seeing, these segments are bronze, right? So they're not capable, I don't think, of going full 5-star or even above 5-star quite yet. But a very strong segment. And something that definitely fuels that Empress Angelina match. We will see if Angelina recovers in time for Beach Break. You'd hate to see an attack like this lead to someone being taken out of the competition, but I hope that Angelina does not go down so easily. But we move on to a submission match between Rick Dolan and Kenji Sabre. Now, why are these two fighting? Well, those of you who watched last week know that Kenji Sabre cost Eternum their match versus Chort. It was I believe, a 3-on-3 match, and Kenji Sabre came in to interfere. This was a big betrayal, right? Because Kenji Sabre was part of Eternum, but as Ethan Wilde let Kaito Sakura know, Kenji hasn't been happy in Eternum for a while. Hasn't gotten a lot of opportunities. Only wrestled twice, despite being this 3-4 over 19-year-old heel. Eternum kind of left him behind, and I think that resentment is understandable. But Rick Dolan, he's here to represent Eternum, right? He's older for sure, but he's no less talented in the ring than Kenji Sabre is. And someone has to go out and defend Eternum's honor, right? Prove that Eternum is not going to take this lying down. And that's why a submission match is so important here, right? You are going to get one of these competitors to submit to the will of the other. And unfortunately for Rick Dolan, Kenji Sabre is about to beat the shit out of him. Apparently, as the match plays out, I am told that Kenji is just, going for attack after attack, right? In a submission match, you don't need to beat your opponent into submission quite that way. You can go for a hold, right? You can make them just tap out. But Kaito Sakura, every time he's like, is this enough? Have I done enough to prove myself here? Kaito's doing the more, and pushing him forward to be more vicious, more brutal, until at one point Rick Dolan's just knocked out. He's just not conscious, just not able to even remotely get up. And I mean, that is a submission, right? And clearly working with Kaito has gone well for Kenji. It certainly went well for Walter with a 4 3/4 star match and a nice feud start here. Rick Dolan maybe not the happiest about that, but he's got a little bit of morale to spare. But it is a brutal victory. And you can see, the game says that Kenji Sabre bled in this match. From the story, as I understand it, I imagine that is Rick Dolan's blood. So, just absolutely brutal. And we will see what this means for Kenji. He's clearly not done with Eternum, and I'm not sure that Eternum are going to be done with him. So, we'll see how that continues to go. But, speaking of Eternum in short, we should not be surprised that Kaya Lucha and Wesley Lee Morris back in the ring again. They've had some group matches. So far, the head-to-head record is 1-0 for Wesley Lee Morris. Kaya Lucha yet to get a singles win in the Stamford Wrestling Alliance history. He's a great wrestler, 4'4", 33-year-old face, does what he needs to do, and Daniel Stevenson certainly seems happy with the guy. But he has struggled to get the big win, something that Wesley has had no issues with. And sure, the haters will point to the fact that Short has cheated a number of different times and has even, had interferences in this feud, right? But at the end of the day, This is Kyle Lucha saying, I'm not going down without a fight. I'm not letting Wesley Morris and Short intimidate me and keep me from defending my faction, from fighting with honor to prove that that Eternum is as good as we say it is, to disprove the lies, according to Kyle Lucha, that Ethan Wild has been spitting. But here's the thing, Wesley Morris is a great competitor, and it sure looks like he's going to win this fight until Daniel Stevenson himself comes to assist. This is, I mean, you hear the music go up, and Wesley, he's ready for it, right? He's going towards the entrance ramp, does a call out, like, come at me, I'll fight you too, I'll fight anybody. Chort is the greatest, I'm the greatest. And because he's paying attention up there, he's not paying attention to Daniel Stevenson making his way down from the crowd, sneaking into the ring, and kicking him square in the dick. Just a full-on kick to the balls, catches him entirely off guard. And Kyle Lucha is able to take advantage of it. That's a 1-2-3 victory for Kyle Lucha, and a huge one for him. It increases his gimmick strength quite a bit. And it's a 4-star match, Obviously, distractions do have a match penalty, but Walter hasn't cared about the score for a while, so why should I pretend to? I love that Daniel Stevenson has gone in here, and, they've asked. The interviewer goes backstage and, is asking him, like, why did you interfere, right? If you had such a problem with Short interfering, why did you take this step? And Daniel just says, look, it's no secret that Short felt betrayed and that I wasn't giving them what they needed. I can respect it, even if I don't believe that's true, right? Ethan Wild's feelings have not come from nowhere. But I can't sit back and let Ethan Wild attack the rest of Eternum like this, when his only beef should be with me. And let's be clear, Kenji, you'll get yours one day. But right now, I have to deal with what's in front of me. And the person in front of me right now is you, Ethan. So Daniel Stevenson has a very humble proposal. At Beach Break, we settle this once and for all, you and me, and we'll see who's right. And we'll have to see how Ethan responds to that. He's, by having all of these group matches, Ethan has managed to have this feud with Daniel Stevenson while largely not putting his own title on the line. He hasn't had to take that risk. Is he willing to risk it to prove to Daniel Stevenson that he's been right all along and that Daniel's not on his level? We'll have to see. But we move on now to Pocket Rocket versus the Prophets. And you'll notice, congratulations to Guru Sanji. You've got a new hair color here, sprucing himself up, and totally not because just because Walter had a quest to do that. No, this is, it's a new look, a new time for the Prophets, which is good because they have not done well. They are 0-3 in the tag division, including a loss to Pocket Rocket. Pocket Rocket's only win at this point. And, for Pocket Rocket, right, you look at Leonard Ace and Trevor Ace, they're good competitors, right? They are, I believe, both 4-4s, at the very least a 4-4 and a 3-3, who is on his way to becoming the 4-4. And they believe it's their time to move up the card and contend for the tag belt versus Hollywood Unbound. And that starts with beating up some people that are lesser than them. And they do believe that the Prophets are lesser. I believe Trevor calls Guru Sanji a jabroni at one point. You could change your hair, but it doesn't change the fact that you're a crap wrestler. And unfortunately for the Prophets, he is right. But look at that. It's a hot match. Overness for both of them is huge. 4 3/4 star. The crowd is into it. It starts to get Trevor Ace over with the fans. So Leonard Ace must be the one, if you're looking at the averages, that is well over. So a big move for Trevor. He's starting to get over with the fans. And we have a holy shit moment here. Leonard Ace kicking out of Guru Sanji's finisher. Used his body to get up and ask to be finished off. That fans are going crazy. And they well should, right? This is the most interesting match the Prophets have ever been in. And you look at Pocket Rocket and you look at Trevor Ace. If he gets over, right, this is a team of 4-4s. And, if you're Walter, you got to look at them and say, that's a team that could potentially go some places. Are they going to the moon? I don't know if the rocket has that much fuel quite yet, but they're certainly worth watching out for. But, they're not the only tag team with some news this week. Connor Creedon has come out to the ring and said, look, Neon Wings, I feel like I've let you down. I need to step up as a leader of the Lads because you guys are getting attacked left, right, and center. Hollywood Bound stole a title opportunity from you, and I can't just sit back and do nothing anymore. So I'm going to help you. I'm going to be your manager. When you're fighting as a tag, you're going to be the tag, and I'm going to have your back. But I think we can go even bigger. I think we can compete as a trio. And with my assistance, we can take on the world. Which is big because they're currently going up against Prodigious. And Prodigy, Prodigy is on the up and up. Prodigious, which is the two-person tag, beat Down Under last week, former team champions. And they believe that they should have the trio belt, right? That, compared to Eternum, which just has or the Kingdom, typically these trios have just been 3 members of a faction. Prodigy, they're a bona fide trio. They deserve their shot. But Neon Wings saw what happened to Down Under. And with Connor Creedon, they're stepping up. They're here to reclaim the honor of their fellow Lads because, let's be real, Prodigy cheated. Tyson Morriso has been up to some shenanigans. And with Layla Hertz here to keep Tyson Morriso at bay, it should be no surprise that without their tricks, the Lads have the edge over Prodigy. It's a 4.5-star match, a hot match at that, which you do love to see. It doesn't look like we get a second holy shit moment, but we do get a nice reveal manager. And I think it's a very solid card overall. It ends up at 4.5 stars, which is an improvement to last week. So congratulations to Walter for that. But I think more importantly, this has really set up the Lads in an interesting way, right? I love Neon Wings. I have loved Neon Wings. I will continue to love Neon Wings. But they're high work rate, low charisma. And Connor Creedon fixes that. And more importantly, the Lads now, they are a legitimate contender at the Trios belt, right? And sure, the Lads in the Kingdom had a feud recently, and maybe there's a little bit of a hype penalty should they go for that belt. But it's up for grabs. And the Lads have the talent that is necessary to take it. So we'll see if Walter gives them their shot. But regardless, a lot of good stuff happening here that Walter can be very happy with. But we move on now. And I'm just going to point out real quick because I'm me and I have the ability to complain about these things. I can't believe that this did not resolve. Prince Pretty Pink and Sammy Emerald were in a fatal 4-way last week. And I could have sworn before the offline update that as long as they were competing as singles competitors, that would work. And the game said it doesn't. And so I literally don't think I have a way for them to do a one-on-one in any way that makes sense. I'm going to fail this talent request, and it's going to make me real sad. But luckily, there's a lot of things I'm very excited about, because unlike last week, where I got 4.5 stars with only a third of my roster, I've got everybody back this week. And hopefully, that's going to make for some good matches. So let's get into it. We start with some smack talk. And Eli Chaos has some harsh words for Alpha Jackson, right? Alpha Jackson and the Southern Sentries had some, in his words, unwarranted attacks on the Eastern Elite, right? Like, we were stranded, most of us, unable to do anything. And you and Fishbone just called out the orders, and suddenly multiple members of our faction are being attacked backstage, not even in the ring, just backstage, just existing. This is not how a faction should do things. And you should be ashamed of yourselves for handling it this way. And Alpha says, look, I'm the peak of what it means to be a male wrestler. And I'm just doing what needs to be done. And if you don't believe that, I'll prove it to you in the main event tonight. And Eli says, you know what, man? You're a coward. Because you did this when none of us were here to defend ourselves. When most of the Eastern Elite was out of commission. But I'm going to puncture that view you have of yourself. This myth that you've made that you're something special. And I'll see you in the main event. I guess I must have done... I guess I did do a Fishbone and... Fishbone and Victor Magnus Smack Talk last time. I guess I didn't think because Alpha Jackson and Eli Chaos are their own feud that this would be treated this way. But I guess it makes sense. I really need to mix up my Smack Talky segments. Maybe I'll do a split interview the next time that I have a similar idea in mind. It's a damn shame because we got 100% effectiveness. That would have been a 5-star segment had I not done that last week. But instead, it's basically a guaranteed drop. But we move on. Mistakes are just things you have to live with sometimes. And speaking of mistakes, Denise Weston is here to fix the biggest mistake that she believes Alana Elise ever made, which was being a face within the Scourge of the Underdark, right? And Denise goes to Alana straight up and says, look, I've heard rumors that things are going down tonight on the Scourge, and you're not going to want to be there when that happens. It's dangerous to be a member of the Scourge of the Underdark right now, and the Sky Sentinels can protect you in a way that Ariana Black and Mistress Jade and any of those heels never will. And look, Alana is proud, right? You know, she was part of Rude Awakening. They were tag champions at one point. She can hardly believe how much Tijuana King seems to hate her guts in this moment in time and the feud that they have had. It seems like everything has turned so quickly. And her pride is going to take a massive hit if she has to say, I quit to Denise Weston. But ultimately, I don't think her heart's in it. I think she knows that the Scourge of the Underdark has no future for her. And certainly seeing how hard Denise Weston is willing to fight on her behalf, I think it would be very difficult to force her to join the Scourge. And that's the thing with these headhunting feuds, right? It goes both ways. And this is the only way I think that works for both of them to their benefit. The Sky Sentinels get a nice reputation boost. It is a hit to the Scourge of the Underdark, but thankfully not one that costs them a reputation drop. So we will see what that means for them in the future. But, you know, Alana Elise is safe now, and she seems happy to be going off with Denise Weston. And who knows? Maybe the two of them have a future together. Maybe there's a version of themselves that can come together and go on to bigger and better things. But for now, we need to move on because this is Grim Oxley versus Techno Boy. Grim Oxley was trying to get Techno Boy to join the Southern Sentries in his magically enhanced wrestling debut. And, you know, right now, the Southern Sentries are on their Make Them Hurt campaign, right? They want nothing more than to damage the Eastern Elite, to prove to Fishbone that, sure, Fishbone might have the Sorcerer Supreme title, but that doesn't mean that he can protect his own people. That doesn't make him a good leader. That makes him a guy with some jewelry. And Technoboy's not here for it, right? That is barbarism that is taking place within the Southern Sentries. These wanton attacks, these brutal breaking of, you know, the principles that wrestlers should all be able to agree upon, you know? He wants nothing to do with it. And Grim says, look, if you want to make me go away, you have to make me go away. Because I'm not stopping until I'm stopped. And luckily for Technoboy, he is able to do just God Okay, sure. Why not? I guess Grim Moxley can be injured. I okay. Just Grim Moxley 18%, 0.6% chance. Cool. That's cool and good and fair and awesome. And I think the game is totally reasonable when it comes to injuries in my company. Uh, I mean, look, it's a hot match. Techno Boy getting a big boost is great. He is now a main eventer, which he always should have been. He was in my heart since the very moment I laid eyes on him, as Xander could tell you very, very well. But the 3/4 star for an interesting story really helped out here because it looks like the match itself was just kind of okay. But luckily, Techno Boy hit Grim Moxley with his finisher off the ramp onto a table below, and that got a holy shit moment. I think the fans didn't know at the time that Grim Moxley was hurt as a result, but luckily it's just a slight injury. Hopefully something that within a month or two he's back to full strength. It's unfortunate, certainly, but hey, it's increased the feud hype thanks to the injury revenge angle to it, so I guess we'll see what happens next. But Techno Boy can stand strong, knowing that he was able to handle quite the onslaught from a fierce member of the Scourge. But right now, a shocking revelation here. The Eastern Elite, right? They're under attack. They are being forced to defend themselves against the Southern Sentries. And Vinny calls on them and says, look, I'm done. I can't do this. I'm not going to be attacked by these, these warriors, these barbarians who are coming to take us down and just try to inflict pain upon us, when none of you are going to come help me, right? I got attacked by Mikey Dolan backstage and no one helped me. I got beaten up on stage in the ring doing the best that I was capable of, and I got no help whatsoever. I'm doing everything I can, and y'all aren't giving me anything back. So I'm done. I'm leaving now. And I wish y'all the best. I don't hold any ill will, but I'm going to join a faction that is going to give me what I need, that's willing to stand up for me and has already proven that they're willing to sacrifice some things for me. And he's off. And Fishbone can do nothing but just watch as another person leaves the Eastern Elite. It's a tough penalty here. I don't love the minus 67 for a guy like Vinny Stacks is a little harsh. The time to leave penalty for Vinny Stacks is also harsh. It looks like everyone else in the Eastern Elite got a popularity boost, so I'm not quite sure why the game says that this is worse for Vinny. I guess maybe the Eastern Elite are just such a renowned faction that leaving them is in their mind making things worse. But here's the thing. Johnny Scott is meeting him at the top of the ramp. And Vinny remembers Johnny Scott taking some hits from Grim Moxley in their three-way match last month. And he remembers Johnny saying, join Independence. We'll take care of you. And the two of them walk off together from the top of the exit ramp. And I think everyone can probably guess what segment's coming next week as a result. But for now, we move on. And, we got that ominous message earlier in the show from Denise Weston that things are going down within the Scourge of the Underdark. And perhaps Light and Shadow are what they had in mind, because Light and Shadow, Kagetsu, Emu, and Mikio, they had a strong debut against Flying High as a duo, but they were not able to get the win. They're two incredible wrestlers on their own, but they have not learned how to wrestle together in a tag. And if they're going to do that, then they need to practice against a team that is genuinely good and that will push them. And Shooting Stars are that team. Shooting Stars were the first team to win the Defenders of the Realm Championship. We just saw Cy and Orion win a 10-way women's match. Like, they have proven that they have a lot of talent. And as members of the Sky Sentinels, it is their duty to prevent Light and Shadow from making their way back to another title match. If they can beat Light and Shadow tonight, maybe they get another chance at Flying High. I know Flying High said that they can't have these interfeuds anymore, but better to put Light and Shadow down before it's too late. But unfortunately, it already is a little bit too late because Light and Shadow are absolutely winning this match. Shooting Stars do get an overness boost for it. It's a 4.25 star. I imagine it's a hot match. Holy shit moment as well, which I'm very happy with. Kagetsi spitting in Cy Orion's face. Those occult powers. I'm sure that spit is very similar to the green mist, perhaps, that we see with some of these Japanese wrestlers. She's going to tap in to whatever she can. And sure, it's only 4.25 star, but I think it's a very nice start to this feud between the two of them. And I will say I'm a little surprised that I don't know. I guess Prove Yourself has a low base rank, but ultimately we will see how much this gets developed, or whether Light and Shadow just see Shooting Stars as a stepping stone. But it's a big win, and they're happy to have it. But in the meantime, Mistress Jade has demanded a match against Duka Igarashi. Duka, at the last pay-per-view, took the belt, the Frost Witch title, off of Ariana Black, the leader of the Scourge. And Mistress Jade is their number 2. She has, she has to defend her faction, right? And the way she puts it, right? She held off on pushing for the Frost Witch title despite very clearly being talented, despite many wins in the women's division, and despite this Demon Queen persona that the fans all love, because she respects Ariana Black. But she doesn't have any respect for Duka Igarashi. Duka is 2-5 in solos competition. And sure, as a member of the Chosen Ones trio, they held the belt for the Jester's Doubt belt for a considerable period of time. But Duka, as a solo competitor, is just now starting to figure some things out. And Mistress Jade wants to take this title. She wants it back in the hands of the Scourge. But Duka tonight is able to keep the upper hand. It's a 4.75 star match, and I'm very happy to see that. No holy shit moments or anything like that, but it does give a nice boost to the Frost Witch Championship. And Duka sends a clear message here. The belt isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And if you want to try again, you know where to find me. But I mentioned before, it seems like something's going down. And if it's not these matches, these just seem like normal matches. What could possibly be happening? Well, the Scourge have their meeting until the Hellfire Club come out. And the Hellfire Club attacks the Scourge of the Underdark. What is this? A male-female feud is not something that Magically Enhanced Wrestling has historically done. But Skull Tabaka and Tijuana King have had enough. They are tired of being belittled by Ariana Black. They are tired of being belittled by Emu Amikio and Mistress Jade, and a faction that does not seem to care about them, that is constantly trying to make them feel small. So you know what? We know that you plan to kick us out, Ariana. We know that we have failed you in whatever test you've built up for yourself. But you know who has our back here? The group that's already a band of rebels, who already rebuked their own faction in the Northern Nightmare and are proving that they don't need the factions to be great. And the Hellfire Club, it turns out it's a lot easier to beat up on a bunch of wrestlers when most of them have already been in matches tonight. The Scourge, despite having the numbers advantage, does not have the ability to hold off on this attack. It's a hot segment, which boosts the Scourge's overness quite a bit. Kind of a shame that it did not boost the overness for Hellfire Club, but that's okay. It's a big boost for Alana Elise on her gimmick. And a treachery feud between Ariana Black and Tijuana King. Was really hoping that was going to go to Skull Tabaka, but whatever. It's something to play around with later on. We do see they are officially members of the Hellfire Club. A big boost for them from a reputation perspective. These are two well-regarded wrestlers, despite what their records would say. And it's another big loss for the Scourge. I do find it interesting. 91 plus, but 113 minus. I don't know how the game calculates these things. But what I can tell you is that the Hellfire Club is very much on the rise. And now that we have this feud between a male faction and female faction, not even a male faction anymore, a mixed faction and a female faction, the question becomes, is this going to be between Tijuana King and Skull Tabaka versus their old faction? Or are we about to get a new intergender set of feuds? And if it is an intergender set of feuds, what would they be fighting for? Because there is no non-gendered belt in Magically Enhanced Wrestling so far. I guess y'all will need to keep tuning in to find out. But we close with our main event of the night. Alpha Jackson, Eli Chaos already told you earlier what this was going to be. It is a street fight between two seconds in command for their faction. Alpha Jackson, the peak of masculinity, the alpha of the Southern Century, someone who is higher rated than his own faction leader. He has had a great time in singles competition. Yes, that record says 4-7, but it's mostly because he's been in multi-man title matches. When he has one-on-one matches, Alpha Jackson looks damn good. And Eli Chaos, you just can't say the same. He did finally get his first solo win last month, but doing so consistently has proven to be difficult. He's still beloved, right? The streak champion of the Kiwis, 100% overness from the crowd, and as a 4'4", 18-year-old face, his future is bright. But Alpha Jackson's a 19-year-old 4'4" heel. His future is also bright. And as of right now, the Southern Sentries are all united on one plan: inflict pain. And the Eastern Elite just saw Vinny walk away. And Alpha's just too much for Eli to handle tonight. It's a 4.75 star match. Plenty of intensity. You love to see that. I do believe that's the Alpha Jackson Eli Chaos feud going hot, which we certainly love to see. I think the fact that it's already hot after one show is a really nice little boost. No holy shit moment, but certainly a strong match to close out the card. And it's going to be a 4 3/4 star card, which I am happy with. It's better than I did last week. I think ultimately, the 3-star segment gets dropped, so who cares about that? One of these 4 1/4 star, had it been a little sharper, maybe I would have had some more opportunities. Maybe I could have overtaken in that regard. But ultimately, a 4.75 is a great score in a weekly. It just looks small because 2 of my competitors either did it or superseded it last time around. And let's go to the guy who did it. Eduardo, the Campeonato de Luchasaur, had a fantastic 4.75 weekly card last time around. And they've got a very interesting card ahead of them, We've got a debut of a new wrestler, the only person to sign a new wrestler during this last break period. We have a new feud that builds on what we saw at Make Your Choice. A couple different things from Make Your Choice really coming to the forefront here. And let's just see how it all comes together. It starts with a first blood match between Jack Azriel and Ryuji Sakota. Now, Jack Azriel, that 0-5 record is a little bit of a misrepresentation, right? Because he's a member of Poker of Pain, which sure has lost 3 matches in a row, but they also won their first 2. They've proven to be a formidable team of wrestlers. Jack has just mostly been in these multi-man title matches. It's a tale as old as time within this particular competition. And, both of these competitors were actually in the Campeonato Onto Championship where they lost to Gabriel Rivera at Make Your Choice. So they just wrestled very recently, even if it wasn't just a one-on-one against each other. But they both believe they deserve a new shot at the title, and Ryuji Sakota believes that his record proves that, right? He doesn't need to be, to make caveats like, oh, yeah, I'm 0-5, but I did this tag thing, but, I had these, these kind of title matches. Ryuji Sakota's got 4 wins under his belt. He's got El Tigre de Neon, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, now a manager, and teaching on the School of the Crab. A style of fighting that has done very well in the Campeonato de Luchasaur. So it's damn unfortunate for Ryuji that Jack Azrael is stepping up when it matters most. And oh boy, dude, is this a stepping up. That's a hot feud, which I'm sure Eduardo will be very happy to see. It's a 5-star match thanks to some really cool spots. A lot of positivity here. And also, First Blood almost fully a gold gimmick match. So we will see. Maybe we'll see another First Blood match tonight, and he can get that over the finish line, secure even better matches in the future. But right now, sure, Ryuji loses a couple popularity, but Jack Azrael gets a boost, and this feud gets a huge boost. And I, for one, can't wait to see the next time that they go up head-to-head. But we move on to a street fight match between Chakal Pro and Clayton Brown. Clayton Brown has already fought and beaten Chakal Pro once in the past in a First Blood match, funnily enough. They were both in the Campeonato Andino Championship in an ambulance match that Ama Triadoras ultimately retained his belt in. But both of them believe that the other one was at fault, right? Clayton absolutely would have done it had it not been for Chakal Pro leaning on dirty tactics. And Chakal, he's the leader of La Sagrada Familia, right? He is the best lucha wrestler as far as he's concerned. Ignore that 06 streak that he's on. He's great. And he has the El Arcangel de Fuego on his side, the School of the Phoenix. He's a diligent student and someone that wants to put that and put that knowledge in and make the most out of it. So sure, Clayton Brown may have drawn First Blood in this feud, but Chakal Pro comes out swinging. And it's a 4.5-star match, and the second feud to go hot tonight. That's a huge boost in popularity for both of these wrestlers, especially Chakal Pro, who is now just 9 points away from beginning his journey to become a face of the company. It's a 4.5-star match. No holy shit moment, but certainly a very great match that enables a lot of great matches to come. That's the thing with these hot feuds, right? It gives a higher chance of matches and segments going hot in the future. It adds hype when these matches are hot. And so that's a huge boost to that hype mechanic. It's going to be hard for someone like Eduardo or Walter, who tend to keep their feuds concise. Keeping it to, look, this is what this wrestler is doing. This is their one thing, and they do that one thing really well. That philosophy doesn't really work well with the hype mechanic. But when you have hot feuds, when you have these opportunities for matches to go hot more regularly, you can subsidize that quite a bit. So it's a big win for Chakal Pro and a big win for the Campeonato de Luchasaur. Another big win for the Campeonato de Luchasaur is that they secured the most sought-after free agent from this week, Luna Solis. Sure, it's only a 67% effectiveness. I imagine it's because she's 2-star at charisma. But Luna Solis is quite the wrestler. She is actually a retired singer who decided to take up wrestling and apply her stardom and star potential to the Campeonato de Luchasaur. A diva turned wrestler, if you will. And she's ready to prove herself, right? She's not here for handouts. She's not here to get some easy matches and just handed a shot at the women's title. She has moved on to a new career. This is a full-on endeavor for her, and she's ready to make the most of it. And if you're going to have a strong opening. Ashlyn Elliott is the person you would want to be wrestling against, right? Ashlyn Elliott is 0-5 in singles competition. Not a lot going for her historically. Her gimmick is mediocre. Her popularity is just over the, into the upper mid card status, right? So Luna Solis, someone who would like to become an upper mid carder, it'd be a big win for her. It could potentially propel her with just a single high quality match, could get her over that threshold. And Ashlyn just basically saying, like, look, this is our home. You're not part of the Campeonato de Luchasaur until you prove it. I'm not even sure you're a real wrestler until you prove it. All I know is that you sing a lot of songs and you talk about how you're a star. But here, you do that in the ring. And unfortunately for Luna, she doesn't do it here. I'll be honest. When this match was first set up, I would have bet just about anything that Luna Solis would be the winner here, especially after taking the time to debut her with a package tonight. But no, this is Ashlyn Elliott getting her first win. It's a 3-star match because ultimately these are both 2-star workers, and 2-star workers have a hard time scoring high ratings with their matches. These are ultimately projects, people that Eduardo's going to try to get hot so that they could at least be 3 threes. 3 is a huge threshold in this game. Maybe spend some training resources, right? That's why we have trainers to eventually give these wrestlers the experience they need to become 3 threes and 4 fours when they get over. It also doesn't help that he low rolled on the tables effect, which you can still do, even if a gimmick's gold, even if it has a lot of things that are theoretically going for it. Sometimes a gimmick just doesn't land, and that's an unfortunate role for Eduardo here. But I think it's one he had to know was coming, right? He knows Luna Solis is a 2-2, so he knows that a package around her was going to have potentially some trepidations. Philip Keller, I think, honestly didn't do everything he could have. I give him a positive of the producer focus, but, is what it is. And this match is what it is. We'll see what this means for Luna Solis moving forward. But we move on now to Razor Jackson versus Kenneth King, which has been one of my favorite feuds to be watching in the background for a while now, right? Because they've fought one-on-one 3 times now. Razor Jackson struck first blood with a pole match, getting the teddy bear on a pole against Kenneth King back in April, and then immediately followed that up with another victory in a submission match. And it's easy to see why. He's a 4'3", 26-year-old face. He's a big match specialist, knows how to, control himself in the ring as a ring general. And he struck first blood. He really started that feud off with a bang and elevated himself. But Kenneth King has not gone down without a fight. Sure, he only has the 1 win under his name in singles competition, but it was a street fight against Razor Jackson, the very gimmick that we're seeing utilized tonight. Every other match they've been in has been a battle royale at pay-per-views where neither of them have been able to emerge victorious, which that's just how battle royales are, right? Most of the competitors aren't getting the win. But Kenneth has proven he's also a ring general. He also steps up when it matters. He knows, as a gifted acrobat, how to put on one hell of a show. So it is unfortunate that Razor Jackson is just this damn good. Mr. Extreme with a huge match in this victory against Kenneth King. That's a 5.5-star match. 2 different bonuses. You'll love to see that. No holy shit moment somehow, which I don't understand. With both wrestlers bleed, the odds of one of those being a holy shit moment is pretty darn high. But yeah, both of them beating each other to a pulp. This is a brutal back and forth, and it's one I don't think Kenneth King should feel bad about this one, right? Like, he did everything he was capable of doing. He left it all in the ring. But Mr. Extreme knows how to street fight, and it's going to be up to Kenneth to see if he can find a way to get the upper hand again against Razor Jackson. or if Razor Jackson is just going to propel himself up the card and put Kenneth King in the dust. We'll have to wait and see. But we move on now to a video package with Pink Arrow. Again, a little bit of a low roll there. I don't know that Vince was the problem per se. 71% effectiveness, usually done by the charisma of the wrestler. And Pink Arrow is a 4-4, so just a bad roll, unfortunately. But it is a nice popularity boost for Pink Arrow, and Pink Arrow deserves it, right? She answered the open challenge by Hae Lee at Make Your Choice. Hae Lee said, "I'll fight anyone for the Nova Championship, a belt that was given to me because I'm the greatest, because I won the Grand Invitational when there were no bookers that could get in the way and influence the results of that match. I earned it. I'm that good." And the company rightfully recognized me. And that's a mammoth to go up against. And Pink Arrow gave it her all. And she gave it her all against Madison Marlowe last week. And yeah, that match hurts. But she's got big aspirations. And she's not done with Hae Lee yet. But before we can get to that main event, we do have to go to an ambulance match between Liam Draco and Nightmare Blue. Now, Liam Draco has had both wins over Nightmare Blue. One of those was a battle royale at Make Your Choice. Liam Draco had a huge boost at Make Your Choice. He's a big match specialist, a workhorse, a ring general. He is really knows how to put on a show as this 4'4", 25-year-old face. And he did a fantastic job back in May too. It was a street fight between the two of them back then, and Liam Draco won that as well. So if he's won it in a one-on-one and he's won it in a battle royale, Nightmare Blue has a lot to prove, right? The ruler of the Sapphire Kingdom, this more fantastical element that he brings to the table. He's 2-9 so far as a wrestler. And those are two good wins, right? And a lot of those battle royales, like I said, you can't judge somebody too badly when some of those losses are just coming from the fact that he's always been in it. But he needs a win. And luckily for him, I think Liam Draco maybe got a little bit cocky from his victory at Battle Royale, because Nightmare Blue is able to pull off the upset. It's not quite the match that Eduardo was hoping for. 4 stars, not bad, but it's also not ideal, especially when the ambulance effect was increased. That's just a real low roll between 2 4-star workers. But it keeps the feud going, gives the fans more to digest and take in. Liam Draco now has to go get some revenge. He needs to reassert himself here, because the ruler of the Sapphire Kingdom sends him packing in an ambulance tonight. But we close here with a ladder match, and I do think Eduardo was right to put this as the main event, because it is Hae Lee versus Pink Arrow. Pink Arrow, sharp as an arrow. We saw in that video package how hard she's willing to work, how much she's willing to do to earn title shots like this. And Hae Lee, she's a fucking lunatic. She doesn't really care who she's up against. There's a reason that she made it an open challenge last time around. She believes that she can beat anybody, anytime, any day. That's why she's 1 month away from being a face of the company. That's why she's the greatest, right? I have a belt called the greatest, and everyone agrees that I should have it, to the point where they gave it to me before I even needed to win it in a match. And look, I would love to tell you that Pink Arrow wins this official feud starter, because with an open challenge, they did not have a feud yet. And I would love to tell you that Pink Arrow is going to start this one off strong. I would love to tell you that the greatest belt is about to switch hands for the first time. But this is Hae Lee. Hae Lee does a great job with this show. I am surprised by the morale hit here. I guess she feels like it's an over 200 popularity difference between the two. So despite the fact that they're both main eventers, it looked like Hae Lee kind of believes that Pink Arrow is beneath her a little bit. But morale aside, right? Because you can fix morale by just having a hot match or getting Pink Arrow some love in some other ways. Pink Arrow still more over than she was when the day began. Seems to be really happy to just be in it here. And it does give the Greatest Championship a nice boost that I'm sure Eduardo will be happy to see as that belt starts moving its way to becoming silver in a very short period of time. Now, unfortunately, no holy shit moments. This is the second week in a row that I think Eduardo has low-rolled this. And also, unfortunately for him, this is going to be a 4.5 star card, which means he and I are tied at 9.25 at this moment in time. It was a great title match, but I think Liam Draco, Nightmare Blue, low rolling a little bit. Both packages rolling below efficiency for what you would hope. Razor Jackson, Kenneth King was big, but Ashlyn Elliott, Luna Solis was not. So I think a 4.5, you're still feeling good about it. I honestly think the worst part is just not getting any of the holy shit moments that you need to fuel more gimmick matches. It might have to be a cheaper card for the next weekly, but I think the stories are all there. I think kicking off this feud was absolutely worth having it in the main event. I think the couple feuds that got over are things that he is going to be able to take advantage of. So all in all, still a successful night for Eduardo, even if it wasn't quite what he was hoping for, given the threat that all of us are dealing with in this set of weeklies, which is the Glory of Legends scored a 5-star weekly card. Now, they're not the first to do that. That was me, just saying. But he is the first to do it with quite as much flair as we saw last time. He had as much hype in his last weekly as I think some of our competitors have had at a bronze pay-per-view. It's just a really well executed series of feuds that we get to pick back up on today, and it's the classic thing that Glory of Legends does best. It is layered feuds and it is faction feuds, and taking advantage of some of these incredible factions that he has built bit by bit in the 7 months in game that this competition has been happening. So let's see what he has in store for us tonight. Well, it starts with a fatal 4-way brawl at Billy Bob's bar. Now, Billy Bob's got quite the bar, and I think probably Colin Torwell is the one face here, has a nice scene with the bartender in which he's complimenting the quality of Billy Bob's signature moonshine. You gotta love a good moonshine, folks. If you're not a big moonshine person, you just haven't had the right moonshine, and that's what Billy Bob can provide. But more importantly, I think for some of these wrestlers, this is a feud between Bright Future and Kanoto Karius more than anything else. Yes, of course, Colin Torwell and Xander Cage have been going back and forth. Sinister Tengu, Paisley Overholt, and Sinister Tengu and Xander Cage, I believe, both feuds that are starting with this match. But the real thing that you need to keep in mind is that Kanoto Karius, right, this group of heels a little bit lower in the card who all came together and said, we are stronger if we all group up, right? If we come together, we are going to be able to take down the Bright Futures, the Brigantias, the Zuges of the world. And we're not fighting just one of them. We're taking them all on. We're not afraid of anybody. And that's good because Billy Bob's Bar is notorious for its bar fights. And, Paisley is certainly doing her part, right, as the Hollywood star of Glory of Legends. She's playing it up, doing her thing with Colin and Sinister watching her shine until Xander Cage comes in and wreaks fucking havoc over everybody here. And so perhaps it is no surprise that despite Colin Torwell being a 4-4, and despite both Paisley and Sinister Tengu being over, it is Xander Cage causing problems that ends up winning him the match. And while it's a 4.25 star match, I imagine because some of these are the 3 work rate rather than 4, it gets an interesting story boost. The feud between Xander and Colin goes hot. the feud between Bright Future and Kanoto Karius comes hot. And because Xander Cage is part of both of those things, that brings him over with the fans. He is a 4-3 moving forward. I think Xander's happy to see Xander Cage do well, especially given he is 1-11 in singles competition to this point. But I don't think even Xander in his wildest dreams thought that Xander Cage was getting over from 71 in a single brawl match against these people kind of lower on the card. So it's a big win for Xander Cage. He's certainly happy to have it. And it's nice for Kanoto Karius, right? Having another hot member does go a long way when it comes to building up that faction reputation. But we move on to quite a cryptic threat being sent. Actually, it looks like Jay Avalon is the one giving a cryptic threat, which I don't think is how either Xander or I imagined this going. I'm going to say, because I think I know what Xander had in mind, that this works the opposite way of what the game just said. That Jay Avalon is being targeted with a cryptic threat because he's seen as a weaker member of For the People, right? For the People, the biggest face faction in this company, but it's a company in which the heels have been largely dominant. And while Jay Avalon is a great wrestler who I personally love dearly, sometimes he can struggle to prove himself in situations like this, just because there are so many other high quality faces, and For the People, it's hard to stand out. But you certainly start by having a hot segment that gives you 29 additional popularity, that boosts your overness by 4, and that gives Xander a 5-star segment. Because the producer, Tucker Carlson's brother, William Carlson, did his part. I don't know if we made that joke on broadcast before, but that's just something we've had in our heads for a while now and just find it endlessly funny. I promise that William Carlson is much less problematic than his brother in the canon of our universe. But most importantly, this cryptic threat, it does very well, and we'll see if that's something that Xander uses more often, especially now that we know that theoretically it is the person who we select that's sending the threats. But in our version, we'll see who it is that's calling Jay Avalon out. We'll see if he can hunt these clues to take on a new opponent that seems to stand in his way. But we move on now to Matt Payne versus Kota Super and an Iron Man match. And that's quite an investment for a match between two people. I mean, Kota Super certainly has been on the up and up for a while now, right? He is a solid main eventer, sure. Only got his first solo win relatively recently. But it's, he's been part of, I believe he is part of Brigantia, if I remember correctly. I believe Matt Payne is the one in Young Revolution. If I got that wrong, oh no, I'm absolutely right, because Matt Payne currently holds the Triple Glory championship, and that's something that Young Revolution took from Brigantia at Glory of Gold. So yes, I got that correct. I wish the game told you what the factions were down here. What are you gonna do? But yeah, Kota Super has won when the two of them were head-to-head in the past, right? He won a submission match early on in their feud. But Young Revolution were on the up and up. They won that trios belt. And indeed, Matt Payne, a bright future is ahead of him in this company. And sure, Kota Super could lose 5 in morale. I don't think Xander cares. 85 is still plenty high. The most important thing, Matt Payne a little bit more over, and it's a 5-star match with a holy shit moment as Matt Payne slaps the taste out of Kota Super's mouth before they both started brawling. That 30 creativity points is going to feel real nice given the investment that an Iron Man match it brings. And I got to tell you, as someone who's competing against this guy, I knew going in that this card was going to be very good. But the more it goes on, the more I am concerned for anyone that is trying to score points as we move forward in these weeklies, because this looks like the best set of weeklies that Xander's ever had. But here's the thing, Bright Future, they have an announcement here. Matt Payne winning that match comes in and surprises everyone by welcoming Regan Awesome to the mix. Regan Awesome has been one of the most, highest rated faces that are out there, right? And he's been, had several different suitors, different factions who would have loved to have Regan Awesome in there. And, Bright Future, they're a good faction, don't get me wrong, but at Reputation 5 after this boost, I don't think people thought that Bright Future would be where Regan Awesome ended up. But with Matt Payne's win earlier tonight, with the triple glory belt firmly in their corner, and with Regan Awesome now here, I mean, that sure feels like a bright future to me. Another 5-star segment in case Xander needed another one of those. But we do move on to Oda's Revenge versus Frontline. Frontline, of course, being the Brigantia Rising members, Oda's Revenge being part of Juge. But here's the thing. Juge may have had the upper hand against Brigantia Rising so far. They are 2-1 in their feud together. But it's been blot out the sun from Juge, not Oda's Revenge, that has been able to make that happen. This is certainly the first time that they're head-to-head, and it's the first time that Frontline has wrestled in a while, right? Because Serpentine Suprema's had other things, right? He's a belt holder now. He has other responsibilities, and being a belt holder as a face in the Glory of Legends is not an easy job. But Oda's Revenge called them out. They said, Yuji and Kaiman both said, look, we are the face of the future of Glory of Legends, not you. And you can hide behind your belt, but at the end of the day, this is a tag match, and we're willing to do this elimination style. So Serpentine, if you're that good, you shouldn't even need Matt Robinson. You should have no problem taking us on. And I think perhaps Oda's Revenge gets under their skin a little bit, perhaps baits them, because despite the sheer talent on Frontline's side, it is Oda's Revenge that's taking the win. And once again, Xander has proven right to do so with a 5-star segment, mostly due to crowd interest. The crowd is in on Oda's Revenge getting this victory. It's got to be a tough one for Serpentine Suprema. But it's the start of a new feud between these two, and I don't think Oda's Revenge are going to get away with a single elimination match and call it there. I imagine that Xander has some plans, and we will see what that means for Serpentine Suprema as he has to juggle both his singles and tag responsibilities. But he doesn't have to worry about that right now, because we're on to the next match between Maricela Reyes and Alexandre Kennedy. Maricela Reyes, she believes that she is the baddest. Ignore that 210 record. She is the baddest. She told you so. And if you're not smart enough to listen, that's on you. But here's the thing. Alexandre Kennedy is not someone who listens. Not just because he's a heartbreaker, which, I don't know is the positive that he thinks it is with his 1-9 record at the moment. But his one win was against Maricela Reyes. It was a violent street fight back in March. And while they've been in some matches together, like the Return to Glory's championship match that Serpentine Suprema just won at Glory of Gold, it kind of rekindled this rivalry, right? Like Maricela said, you got in my way, Alexandre. I totally would have won that belt because I'm the baddest there is. And Alexandre says, look, I beat you already. I don't know why you're obsessed with me. I'm bad for you, I'm sure, as a heartbreaker, but just beyond that, you need to get over this and focus on your own problems. Maricela says, well, I'm going to make you my problem. And she's going to win this match. It's 4.25 star. It's a nice win for Maricela Reyes. These intergender feuds are always interesting to see. I think they're a lot less common in our competition. And when you think about the history of male-female violence, it's pretty easy to see why. But I think these matches are a lot of fun. And as someone who just opened up the door for my own intergender belt, I love that these walls are down, right? I love that Xander has already had multiple mixed matches, and with Emily Everett rising up the ranks and potentially being a rival of Johnny Hangtimes one day. We will see how that story goes. I can't help but think that there is a lot of value to be found in these. So let's just say I wrote that one down in my notes. I have intergender plans now, and thank you, I suppose, Xander, for reminding me how valuable that is. But we move on now to quite an interesting match between Crushing Blow and Castle Crashers. This next match, it's a trend here. Crushing Blow, Corsaru and Ume Amikio, these are both incredible wrestlers. They're both over 1,000 popularity in their own right, both on the journey to become base of the company, and both are or have been belt holders, the top women in this promotion. But Castle Crashers were the tag belt holders, right? This is, they held the tag belt longer than anybody else. And, recently we saw DJ Castle turn face, so they get to play this kind of righteous role in standing up to Crushing Blow, which is good because, as we know, Conquest or Death has declared total war against For the People. Once again, these two factions are heading back and forth. Glory or Go Home, which was the February faction. Glory or Go Home was the February pay-per-view. I swear I can word sometimes. And it was quite the feud, and Conquest or Death did emerge victorious. But with the heat on and both of these factions further along, having proven themselves time and time again, For the People want this badly. But even though Crushing Blow have not wrestled as a tag before, they have one thing that Castle Crashers don't, and that's Johnny Hangtime as a special referee. And it turns out Johnny is going to give a little bit of love to Conquest or Death whenever given the opportunity. And the Castle Crashers, I'm sure, are furious about this. How is he allowed, as a biased faction leader, to ref a match like this? Xander, what are you doing? And Xander just has to remind him, Johnny's the emperor. This is what he does. These are the decisions he gets to make. If you can't deal with that sounds like your problem. You get good, scrub, I suppose. Luckily for Xander, I think this is going to have a lot of nice things for him. It's a 4 3/4 star match, popularity boost and overness boost for each, which means the mat went hot. And oh, by the way, the Total War feud between Conquest or Death and For the People has become hot. And that's everything Xander wanted. Everything else that we've gotten tonight has been gravy. This was the goal. It's been achieved, and he's got to be thrilled. Especially because he got his third holy shit moment of the night. Corsaru spearing DJ Castle through the barricade, giving Corsaru even more of an overness boost. It's just, I'd say he can't keep getting away with it, but he clearly has. And I don't think it's letting up anytime soon, because we're closing with the Emperor's Belt Championship. That's right, Johnny Hangtime is defending his belt on a weekly against Alex Jim, because Johnny wants the folks at home, the people who watch on television, maybe don't watch the pay-per-views the same way. He wants to make it clear. This is Total War. This is not just Conquest or Death wants to defeat For the People. Conquest or Death wants to destroy For the People. Conquest or Death wants to teach everyone in For the People a lesson they will never forget, that they cannot stand to the king. And look, Alex Jim is going to do his best here. He's quite the competitor. He held the men's heavyweight championship for 5 months. He deserves his shot at this. He deserves to be able to prove himself. against someone like Johnny Hangtime. But you're not beating Johnny Hangtime on a weekly. Are you kidding me? That would be insane. No, it's going to be another 5-star match because of course it is. And it's going to get both of them more popular. And I'm going to guess it was a hot match because of course it was. And it starts a feud that is already starting at 80. Yes, I sound salty when I say this, but wouldn't you be bored of just all this success, right? Isn't he tired of winning? You know what? Bad phrasing. We'll just move on. It's another holy shit moment because, of course, Johnny Hangtime getting up from Alex Tim's finisher before asking him to hit another. It's a nice boost to the Emperor's belt. Let's just skip to the part where it says he got a 5-star card. Of course he got a 5-star card. Of course he did. This has been an insane back-to-back. And I say this, look, fuck you, but also incredibly well done, Xander. This is just how you build up these feuds, and this is how you take advantage of these factions that have been built up. And it is paying off in the biggest way possible. And it does bring in 51,000 fans. That's got to feel good for Xander. I'm feeling good because I got some fans. Walter may have lost fans, but Eduardo lost more of them at the end of the day. Ultimately, the fans in weekly shows doesn't really matter so much. Feuds are used as hype in the pay-per-views when we use that as a tiebreaker. But for the weeklies, it's raw score. And I wish I could say it would matter, but I mean, Xander's doing both. These are very hyped matches. They're very good matches. He's putting on a show. And hopefully y'all enjoyed this show. Obviously, it was a solo cast, and it's the first time I've really done one of those in a long time at least. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you would like to see from these 4 wrestling factions. Do you have a favorite? Is there someone you're rooting for? Can it be magically enhanced wrestling? I swear, we're pretty cool. But whatever it is, whether you comment on YouTube or find me at chasewassenaar.bsky.social, love to hear from y'all. I cannot wait until the next weekly. Hopefully will come out very shortly because, again, the pay-per-view is going to be Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. So a different day than we usually do it, and we're going to want to get that next weekly knocked out to have enough time before the 3rd bronze pay-per-view card gets put together. But until then, goodbye, Internet.